This is a 5.1 home theater remote kit from Gemtech. Gemtech is a brand that build such remote kits and decoders, mainly just a remote controller with a display and a control board. And so we can connect multiple inputs to the circuit to this board, and we can control it using a remote control for controlling the volume and selecting separate channels to separate volume levels. For all that, most of the people use a remote kit, a remote controller for that, for our AVR, that is something like 5.1, 7.1, or for any amplifier or AVR that mostly have inputs like HDMI, ARC, and so on. And in my previous video also, I have shown you a 5.1 amplifier that I have assembled using a remote kit that is from G-Tech. So my question is, do we really need a remote controller to build an AVR? Look at this decoder. This is a FuTech 5.1 HDMI decoder, and it has an optical input and a digital input also. Here is the decoder from FuTech. The model number is FT003. So this decoder has 5.1 output, that is a 6-channel output. It will extract the signal, the data from HDMI, ARC, or digital signal, or from optical signal to 5.1 analog output. We usually connect the output from the decoder to any such remote kit or remote controller to select and operate an amplifier. Why should we use a remote controller? My answer is, I don't really like using a remote controller for any decoder. Consider you are using a preamp. You are using a decoder as a preamp to an amplifier. So what will be the connection? What will be the way you connect the decoder to the amplifier? It will be like you must be connecting all the output from the analog output from the preamp using an RCA cable, right? That will be the way you will be connecting a decoder or any preamp output to an amplifier that has an RCA input. Most of the amplifiers that is 5.1 must have 5.1 analog inputs, and they must have certain selection like for USB or for ProLogic or for any type of stereo input like aux in, something like that. So while using such amplifier, we usually experience best audio quality from the way that we connect using a preamplifier to a power amplifier. So the reason must be lossless signal, and while we connect it using a remote kit, the output will be almost lossy and noisy. There are a lot of noise from all the remote control kits available here at our market. So the best way is to build a manual amplifier and connect it as a preamp, or connect it internally into the amplifier and select it manually, control it manually, experience the best output. That's my opinion. That's my own findings and my own experience. So here you can see a manual amplifier. This is a manual 5.1 amplifier. If you power it on, you can see it's a simple 5.1 amplifier that has 100 watts per channel output and a 200 watts of subwoofer output. The way is, if we are giving a 5.1 signal to the amplifier, we will get a 5.1 output, speaker output from this amplifier. You can control it manually. You can control the signal from the source coming to the decoder via HDMI, digital in or optical in, whether what type of audio level you need. And the best way is to keep the signal level at 70%, minimum of 70%, and you can control it from these manual controls. You can experience the wonderful 5.1 theater experience just as we experienced it before while we were using those 5.1 master DVDs. So as per my understanding, I have experienced best quality output from a manual amplifier, from a signal that is coming from a decoder that is a that must be of a good quality, and you can experience the best output at your home itself at a minimum price. The only thing that the remote kit is doing is you can control the volume, or you can select the input using a remote control. That's all. Instead of that, you can use a selector switch that is manual and just experience it. There are a lot of people who are assembling or who are using a remote kit, an amplifier with remote kit, a 5.1 or 2.1 or stereo, and all the kits I have found is noisy. Just connect the output from here to the power amplifier via a volume control, and after that connect the output from here via remote kit to the amplifier board. Check the difference. There will be massive difference in the output quality, and there will be zero noise if you are connecting it via manual amplifier. So that was my own experience and my own findings. If you have any objection, any suggestion that what I'm telling is right or wrong, you can comment it in the comment box below. We will discuss about that in the future video. Still, if the customer need an amplifier and a VR with a remote control, then we have no other choice. Even if we try to make them understand, they don't agree. Most of the people don't agree with that. They really want that type of an experience at a minimum budget, and they do the inquiry about, can you make such an amplifier at a required budget at that much output using a remote kit.